former X Division champion and number 22 on PWP's Top 25 of 2022, Mike Bailey here, and you are listening to Pro Wrestling Proverbs with Logan and Anthony.
I believe that everything in wrestling happens for a reason. Even the smallest little reason. Big example I can think of right now is The Rock became the final boss because Cody Rhodes. Had Cody not had the reaction he did in the ring, and the fans not had the reaction they did on X, I don't think we would have got the final boss Rock, which has been very fun and very badass. I think we would have just got normal, hokey, a little bit of Hollywood Rock, and he would have beat Roman, and the rumor is he would have, vacated the title and been the People's Champion. And then that People's Championship he would have had until he came back to TV, and then he could challenge for the heavyweight title. Boring. Everything happens for a reason. So, my question is, because I don't watch AEW a whole lot. Okay. Is there a reason that the Young Bucks became more corporate?
Because of CM Punk, I'm assuming.
Because of CM Punk.
Yeah.
All right, and then the Elite, and they all became corporate. They all came out in suits. They're more, almost like they're a corporation. And it's almost like they have someone above them kind of giving orders.
Oh, no.
Now, as I said, the Young Bucks did turn corporate. Okada is a top wrestler. And Jack Perry is a second-generation star. Now, let's just say, going into a Blood and Guts match, because they're still running roughshod on AEW, Tony Khan prepares Team AEW. I've got it here as Darby Allin, Hangman Adam Page, Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho, and Dustin Rhodes, because he's kind of been fighting with the Elite. And, Rhodes has to be in the main event right now so they can compete with WWE. But then that only leaves 4 for Team Elite. And I know right now they've got Swerve Strickland kind of as their 5th, or they could use Christian as a 5th. I think at this point they would have their 5th be the person that's leading them. So probably a couple weeks before Blood and Guts, Tony Khan would be smirking and finally ask them, "You've only got 4. Who's your 5th going to be?" And the Elite act like they're going to stall, and then that's Okada will just start laughing, and one of the Jacksons can say, "You know what? We're going to just tell you now, because there's no chance that anyone would actually guess who this is." And then Okada, because he's been getting the little bits on TV, he'd look at the camera, he'd go, "No chance in hell." And that's when Shane McMahon would round the corner and acknowledge that Shane is the one who made them corporate, and it is a McMahon that wants to take a Khan out. Now, this might seem kind of crazy off the wall, but there is rumors that Shane, he was asking people he knew within AEW if he could come in.
No shot. No shot.
But what if Shane is the reason that they're corporate? As I said, the Young Bucks turn corporate, and the Young Bucks, whatever you want to say about them, they've been a top 5 tag team for years. Okada's been a top 5 wrestler for years. And Shane McMahon,
he's the best in the world. He's the top 1 wrestler in the world.
Not only that, but he's got his finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
And Jack Perry being second generation, just like Shane, maybe he convinced the Young Bucks to take Perry under his wing. Well, we have a Blood and Guts match set. But a week before Blood and Guts, MJF storms into Tony Khan's office. And he says, Tony, there's a mole on your team. I'm upset. Sammy Guevara's upset. When the 4 pillars were set for AEW, it was Jack Perry, Darby Allin, myself, and Sammy. Why aren't we on Team AEW? And Tony Khan will go, I picked the team as best as I could. I have all of this experience. I have all of these former champions. That's MJF tells him he's going to regret it. Somebody is going to cost Team AEW. And that's Tony finally says, is it going to be you, Max? Do you remember how you acted not once but twice? MJF storms out of the office and says that you will regret this. We get to the Blood and Guts match, and as it's going on, as we get toward the end of it, MJF comes out. MJF's pissed, but he's standing at the ramp and he's watching. His arms are folded. And lo and behold, MJF was right. As Chris Jericho hits Moxley with a code breaker, and then Shane McMahon hits a diving elbow off the top, giving the Elite the win. Shane then comes out the next Dynamite, and he brags about how he knew everything would work. Not only here in AEW, but when he was on the other side. He knew UFC would be big, but no one believed him. Nobody wanted to buy in. He knew ECW could have been better if it was online and edgy. Nobody wanted to believe him. He knew the hardcore style was good, but his dad and his brother-in-law didn't believe him. And just like that, it became his brother-in-law's company and not his when his dad got ran out. Back when WWE needed him, and they just cast him to the side. He even knew that he even gave some people chances when his father wouldn't. And he looks up at the announce desk and he waves and says, "Hey JR, how are you doing?" Jim Ross gasps as the other announcers ask what he's talking about, and he goes, I have nothing to do with this. I don't know what he's talking about. Then
also,
over the next...
I just want to point out for people visualizing this, imagine Shane McMahon, he's really sweaty cutting this promo right now. His face
all the time.
His face is beet red. He's like, "Hey JR, how you doing?" And he's wiping the sweat off his brow.
Over the next few weeks,
wearing those dumbass fucking Nike shoes too.
Now they're the AEW Adidas.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. He's wearing
Shane
those...
McMahon versions.
Okay.
But people start turning. First, Paul White makes his one appearance for the year, and he actually does a knockout punch to Tony Khan. Paul White gets on the mic and says, "Shane is going to help me like he helped me before. I came to this company. I was supposed to be a giant. I'm supposed to be a monster. And you have me behind a commentary booth." Was Andre ever behind a commentary booth? "You have me dressing up as Captain Insano? Did Andre ever have to dress up as his Princess Bride character? No. I'm a giant, and the Elite knows how to use a giant." The following week, Christian and Nick Wayne pledged their allegiance to the Jacksons and the Elite. They'd worked with them previously. They said, "This is what we want to do." And then the Jacksons asked, "Luchasaurus, are you going to be with us? We've got your pal Jack here, Christian and Nick Wayne." And then Luchasaurus just won't do it. So everyone beats him down backstage, with the final blow coming from Jack Perry, kicking Luchasaurus in the head. During a 6-man match, Billy Gunn turns on the Acclaimed. Spits on him, his sons come out, turns on his sons as well. Tells both teams that they're nothing but New Age Outlaws ripoffs. And he is going to the Elite. He's going back to his buddy Shane, and it's going to be just like back in the day. Jeff Jarrett tells his team that he's no longer with them. He's tired of Ring of Honor castaways and TNA losers being on his coattails. And Shane's offered him a shot to be his vice president. So he's taking it. So just like that, a Jerry McMahon are working together, and he promises it's going to be better than last time. The final edition comes on another Rob Van Dam appearance. He's in a fatal four-way match, and in that fatal four-way is one of those pillars, Sammy Guevara. Chris Jericho comes down, and he's going to hit Guevara with a chair. Rob Van Dam stops him, grabs the chair himself, and then hits Sammy with a Van Terminator. Becoming heel for the first time in years, and associating himself with the Elite. This at the time, they then come out the following week. The whole group's there. Tony Schiavone's in the ring. He's kind of shaking, and he's wondering what's happening. Why is all this happening? And Shane grabs the mic, and he runs it down. Paul said it before. He wasn't used as a giant. Billy Gunn here, at over 50 years old, is in better shape than 80% of those vanilla midgets in the back that Tony likes to call wrestlers. Jeff Jarrett here has the greatest mind in the industry, and he was being used for Texas Chainsaw death matches? Rob Van Dam being brought in for smoke shows like he's some flip-flop wearing freak? We have here an entire corporation. Even better, we have an entire federation. I would like you to call us the Fed. Chris Jericho grabs the mic and says, I have a little present for the Fed. Do you guys remember my learning tree? Well, they follow me wherever I go. And just like that, the learning tree is also with the Fed. I know, this might seem like some NWO shit, and it's because it kind of is.
That's all right. NWO was good at the beginning.
Shane then said, besides having our own superstars, I'd like to introduce a referee to be our personal referee, Iron Mike Chioda. Someone that AEW brought in, made a big deal about, and then kind of cast away after a few main events. And finally, we have our own personal commentator. The man who got released because of that Ian Jabroni. None other than Kevin Kelly. Kevin Kelly comes out, looks at the other announcers, and just laughs. This is a whole new AEW. As they're taking over and they're running roughshod week after week, at this point, Adam Copeland's leg is healed up. And Adam Copeland is tired of seeing this. Shane and Tony Khan are in the ring. It's Shane and Christian and Tony Khan's out there. Adam Copeland comes out and gets in Christian's face, knocks Christian to the ground, and then goes like he's going to spear Shane, but then stopped, smiles at the camera, and turns and spears Tony Khan. To be the final piece to the Fed, a heel Adam Copeland. He grabs the mic and looks at Tony and says, do you not realize what you've had on your roster? I won everything in WWE. Every title, every accolade. And you had me go to the top of a cage and jump off? Do you realize what else I could have been doing? But you wanted this spot? That's the problem with all you in the back. All you care about is spots. You look at our TLC matches and you just think spots. We told a story that had spots in it. You all just do spots with no story. I'm sick of it. And then he holds up Shane's hand. The Fed is now complete. They start taking over Ring of Honor. They start taking over Collision. And all the veterans within the Fed are tired of the disrespect in the locker room. You know, we were supposed to be leaving Connecticut for greener pastures, but this grass is dead. We finally get a build up to a large premium live event. It's announced that Shane McMahon will be facing Darby Allin in a street fight. Christian will get Adam Page. Jeff Jarrett will face former teammate Jay Lethal. Billy Gunn will face Dustin Rhodes, the one former Fed guy who has not turned. Rob Van Dam will fight Sammy Guevara. Okada and Jericho are going to team up against the returning Omega and G. Copeland wants Moxley in a TLC match. The Jacksons were going to face FTR, but they ended up injuring Cash, so now it'll be Dax and Briscoe. Jack Perry is facing the returning Luchasaurus, and the Learning Tree gets Samoa Joe and Hook. Paul White has taken Nick Wayne under his wing before this and says he wants a real challenge. Wardlow stepped to the plate, but Wardlow had no partner with him until MJF came out. This is when the announcers and the fans knew it was serious, where if a threat could bring Wardlow and MJF back together, it had to be big. Samoa Joe and Hook beat the Learning Tree. Luchasaurus beat Jack Perry. The Jacksons ended up beating Dax and Briscoe. Copeland beat Mox. Omega and Ibushi did beat Okada and Jericho, but not before Okada and Jericho came out like the Shield, just to add a little bit of knife in the back. Rob Van Dam beat Guevara. Dustin beat Billy Gunn. Jeff Jarrett beat Jay Lethal. Christian beat Page. MJF and Wardlow won their match. And it looked like Shane was going to win. Shane was up in the rafters and was going to jump down and elbow Darby Allin through a table until Shane seemingly fell. Darby was able to move and Shane fell through the table. As Darby got the 1, 2, 3, he looked up and there was Sting up in the rafters. He pointed his bat down at Darby and disappeared. The following night on Dynamite, Tony Khan said he's always got one trick up his sleeve. He knows what the McMahons are like, so he's not going to fall for any tricks. Then Shane came out, and he said he's a little dinged up, but the Jacksons have a present for him as well. The Jacksons have now granted Shane McMahon ownership of Ring of Honor, as well as half of AEW, and the first task at hand is Shane McMahon versus Mark Briscoe for the Ring of Honor title. Shane McMahon does the unthinkable after all sorts of interference and wins the Ring of Honor Championship, proclaiming himself the undeniable best in the world and laughing that he continues to make Tony Khan's life a living hell, even when Tony Khan thought that he had the upper hand. At this time, Dustin Rhodes was going to have a heavyweight title match against Swerve Strickland, and Dustin ended up winning the heavyweight title thanks to Shane and the Fed. Dustin for weeks had to say he didn't want their help, he didn't know why they came to his aid, and he's tired of this. Dustin then wanted to prove that he wasn't with the Fed, so he said that he would have a match, champion versus champion on Collision, against Shane McMahon. But Shane had the stipulation where if Dustin won, no titles were on the line, but if Dustin won, he would have to join the Fed. Dustin was fairly confident and went into the match. Again, because of interference, the Fed won and this left Dustin under their control. The following Dynamite, they came out and said he will no longer be Dustin Rhodes, but he will be dressed up like the Young Bucks with the streamers, the glitter, the headband, and he will forever be known as Bold Dust. A Shane McMahon production. They stripped Dustin of the AEW title, and they actually ended up giving it to none other than Adam Copeland. This then would lead to the big premium live event in this feud, as Shane McMahon was going to be defending his Ring of Honor title in a lumberjack match, but not a typical lumberjack match. Only members of the Fed were allowed at ringside. Dustin's contract was on the line. Shane's control of AEW and Ring of Honor is on the line, and the Ring of Honor title would be on the line. You know, going into this, he would remind the Fed he's the best in the world. He's the Ring of Honor champion. He doesn't care what anyone else thinks. He's a McMahon, damn it. Tony Khan stepped up and said that it would be Tony fighting Shane McMahon. The locker room was aghast as Tony Khan had never stepped in the ring. He rarely got physical. Of course Shane accepted. And then Tony said if Tony were to lose, then Shane would have full control. This is what the Fed wanted. We get to the event. Before Tony's entrance, Tony Khan lets the locker room know, I know what I'm doing. He went out, but he was in a suit. And he said, Shane, I watched when you took over WCW, and the contract said McMahon, but it wasn't Vince McMahon. Well, if you look, the contract did say Tony, but not Tony Khan. Shane's Ring of Honor opponent was none other than Claudio, who in a previous life was Antonio Cesaro. The Lumberjacks surrounded the ring, and Cesaro would have his way with Shane until the Lumberjacks pulled him out. The other three pillars would come out. MJF, Sam, and Darby, they'd all try to help. And Shane would just keep yelling at his people to just beat them down, put them through tables. You know, why don't you take out this person for me? And you could tell the agitation had been building up for weeks. Tony came out again, and he said, if you thought Sting was a surprise, as I said, Shane, I always have a card or two up my sleeve. And then you hear the familiar theme of Bill Goldberg.
Oh my God.
Goldberg comes out on the ramp, looks at Tony Khan, nods to him. As he goes down, he's standing in front of the Fed, and the Fed then begin to separate like Moses separating the sea. Nobody's stopping Goldberg from getting in. The Jacksons are confused. The Jacksons try and stop him, but he super kicks each of them and takes him out like he took out Brett. Everyone else kind of stood, and then it was finally Okada that waved to the ring. Goldberg went in, he speared Shane 3 times, hit him with a jackhammer, and then Tony Khan from the ramp, do it again! Another spear, another jackhammer, and then Claudio ended up locking Shane in a sharpshooter to where Tony Khan said, ring the bell. Shane was so unconscious he could not even respond. Tony walked to the ring, the other 3 pillars got up, and they all stood in the ring. Tony Khan, Goldberg, MJF, Sammy Guevara, and Darby Allin. And then as the event is ending, the light pans up and Sting is in the rafters, and the last thing we hear is Jim Ross say, wrestling wins, damn it. Wrestling wins. And that is how I booked the beginning of Shane McMahon in AEW.
I don't know if I want this or not. I don't know. One, I'm surprised you even...
So many twists and turns.
You did a whole thing on Shane McMahon, your, as fans know, your favorite wrestler.
My enemy!
And you included Goldberg.
I did.
I don't think
just,
you hate Goldberg,
just for the funs.
He's definitely been a...
I know a lot of
subject.
fans that will.
Yeah, I know one guy in particular that will not like that.
I just feel like, he wants one last match. And, I mean, it wouldn't be a last match, but he'd get to play hero. And, with Tony Khan and his checkbook and his wrestling nostalgia, it's almost perfect. And then I just like and clearly I pulled a little bit, the NWO stuff. The people separating, like when the SmackDown roster was supposed to protect Brock Lesnar and they separated for Stone Cold. I always liked that, and I think it'd be a big moment. Funny enough, I'm pretty sure Billy Gunn and Big Show would be involved in both. But yeah, no, Shane McMahon, best of the world, showing up in AEW.
Oh, you know they cut a promo too, like mocking CM Punk using the best in the world and Shane McMahon winning the best in the world thing. The real best in the world.
Yeah, but
not some straight edge clown that claims to be. Sorry.
yeah, it had been a while since we'd gotten a scripture. I guess I didn't announce that at the beginning. This was the 11th scripture. We took a break after number 10, the Bloodline one. But yeah, this I don't think this is one of my more possible ones. I just think this is one of the more fun ones. Shane McMahon showing up and getting an all WWE team.
A goof and a gaff. A little goof and gaff here.
A goof and a gaff, just like Shane McMahon's career.
Yeah, Shane McMahon, but I think he's probably more likely to show up at that kid's birthday party with Riddle than AEW. But nonetheless,
yeah, I mean,
it's possible.
Yeah. And of course, if people liked listening to this, like I said, we've got 10 others. 10 other Logan scriptures. There's also on our YouTube page some booking DIYs, which was the precursor to Logan scriptures. Some of them are more or were more probable than others, but you know, that's the point of fantasy booking, right? It's a fantasy. It's supposed to be fun. And I mean, if you want to fantasy book, definitely take a trip over to our Etsy page where you can get your own Logan Scriptures journal. That's where I write down all my scriptures, all my notes for the show here. Definitely worth it. Designed by yours truly. What's $20?
You know, what is that? You know, nothing.
Yeah.
Just don't have your Starbucks avocado toast for a day. You'll be able to buy a house
exactly.
and a Logan Scripture notebook.
Yeah. Yep. And then you can write at the top of your Scriptures notebook to remind your friends to like and subscribe and follow all of our social medias. Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, YouTube, and then wherever you can find your podcast.
I'm glad you're saying Threads too, because I now they added this new feature, the Facebook, where your posts automatically get shared over the Threads. So now I can whenever we post on Facebook, we'll just go over the Threads too, because I've never went on my way to post shit over on Threads. So if you're one of these people that don't like Facebook but are on Threads and Instagram, there you go. You can hop on over there.
But stay tuned for our socials, as we've got a lot more content planned. We've got a couple conventions this summer, and I mean, we're less than 150 away from that first tier of partnership with YouTube. So if you're listening to this on any platform and you're not subscribed to us, what are you doing?
Head over to youtube.com/ProWrestlingProverbs and subscribe. God damn, it's not that hard. Just do it.
Here comes the money. Here we go. Money talk. Here comes the money.